Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about language and ethnicity. All of us know that language is very much related to ethnicity. Each ethnic group has its own language. I would like to start with the origin of language. There are three perspectives according to Theo. The first is language as a gift from God. In the Bible and the Quran, it is stated that language is a gift from God. I would like to take one verse from the Quran, verse 30, sentence 22, where Allah says, "And of His signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and your colors. Indeed, in that are signs for those of knowledge." So it is proven that language is a gift from God. The next perspective is language is a human creation. It started off during the ancient Egypt, where they transferred the sign language into verbal language. The last perspective is language is the product of evolutionary process. This is very interesting. In this perspective, we can see that language is dynamic. Language is not static. The language used in the 1950s and 1960s is no longer used in 20s. Nowadays, the language is very much related to technology. We have X, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. It is interesting to see some of the words have a new meaning right now. For example, if I say, I use Windows 10, I'm sure you are not thinking about the windows in my house, but it is more like computer software. Windows 10 is a computer software. So you can see how language changes from time to time. This is the map of languages spoken around the world. They are divided according to geolinguistics. There are different colors. Each color represents the language spoken in that particular region. I would like to draw your attention to the family of Austronesian languages. It stretches from Madagascar to Southeast Asia. The one in the orange color, they are called Austronesian family of languages. Austronesian languages are divided into three categories: Malaya Polynesian, Biotic, and Khmer. For Malayan Polynesian, we have Javanese, we have Malays, we have Tagalog, Sudanese, and Indonesian. Biotic, Vietnamese, and Khmer. If you look at the end here, these are the languages that belong to Austronesian family: Indonesian, Vietnamese, Javanese, Filipino, Sunda, Tagalog, Malay, Khmer, and Cebuano. Malay language has been chosen as the lingua franca of the Southeast Asia. Why? So it is predicted that Malay language will be one of the 6 important languages beside English, French, Spanish, German, and Chinese languages in 100 years to come. Why Malay language? Let us look at the map again. Okay. Malay language is widely used in the Southeast Asia. In Malaysia, Malay language is the national language. Malay is widely used in Sumatra, in Indonesia, in Brunei, in Singapore, in southern part of Philippines, and the southern part of Thai. And I know some of people in the Madagascar also use Malay. So Malay is widely used in this region, and therefore it is chosen as the lingua franca of the region. Malay language is the lingua franca of Southeast Asia. It is also the national language of Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Brunei. It is spoken by 250 250 million people, okay, Malay is becoming the primary regional lingua franca due to Malaysia's emergence as political and economic power. Because Malay is the national language of Malaysia, Malay is widely used across Malaysia. That is why Malay is used for economy, for the industries, and in the business. So these are the languages spoken by different speakers. For English, there are about 1,000 million speakers. Spanish, 250 million users. Malay, 250 million speakers. And French, 100 million speakers. Language and ethnicity. We know that Malaysia is a multi-ethnic country. We have different races, different ethnic groups in Malaysia. The three big ethnic groups are Malay, Chinese, and Indian. So we have more than 70 spoken languages. Before this, we had more than 100 languages, but sadly, some of the languages are dying or already extinct. So the 17 spoken languages are divided into two types. One is indigenous, which belongs to Bumiputra, and the next is non-indigenous, belongs to the non-Bumiputra. So indigenous languages, there are two types. Austroasiatic, we have 20 languages spoken by aborigines. And the next type is Austronesian, as you know, Malay, Javanese, Indonesian all belongs to the Austronesian. And we have non-indigenous spoken by Chinese, Indian, Thai, and Arabs. According to Asma Haji Omar, Malay language is the most advanced high culture, the language used for knowledge, for gaining knowledge, and for the religious studies. Malay language was used as the language of administration during the Srivijaya time, and Malay language was also used as the language of the courts of the kingdoms of the Malay archipelago during Malacca Empire. And in her book, Susur Galur Bahasa Melayu, or in English, The Origins of Malay Language, Asma highlights different Malay dialects. The first is Standard Malay. Standard Malay is not dialect. It is a formal language. It's a formal Malay language used for official purposes in official contexts. We have Johorian, Selangorian, Malaccan, Sarawakian, Sabahan, Kedahan, Perakian, Pahangait, Kelantanese, Terengganu, Negeri Sembilan, Urat Lawal, Bruneian, and Kendayan. So these are the dialects of Malay, but I believe the dialects here, they are more towards geographical boundaries. They are not divided according to geolinguistics. Bahasa Jiwa Bangsa is the Malay proverb. It means language is the soul of the nation. This is to show how important the language is. The language shows who you are. So in the context of Malay language, it is always associated to nationality. Malay has become the national language of Malaysia since independence. So as the national language, it is not specifically used by a specific ethnic group, but it is widely used across the country. Before independence, Malay was used in the Malay-speaking community. Malay was the language used between kingdoms in the Malay archipelago. After independence, the use of Malay is stretched to other domains, for example, academic, science, and technology. So I would like to touch a bit about language development in Malaysia. Okay, as reported in the Razak report in 1956, we have different types of language. First is national language. As I mentioned earlier, Malay language is the national language since independence in Malaysia. The official language in the early independence, we had English as our official language, but now Malay language is the official language. Language of instruction, the same with official language. In the early independence time, we have English as the language of instruction, but now Malay is the language of instruction. Pupils' own language. We have pupils of students who speak different languages, especially Chinese and Indian. Chinese, they speak Mandarin, and Indians, they speak Tamil. So we call vernacular. So we have vernacular languages. So therefore, it is worth to look at the ethnic identities, the stereotype of Malaysian ethnic identities. A long time ago, most Malay, they live in the rural areas or kampung. They were fishermen and farmers. While Chinese, they lived in the cities. They were businessmen and miners. And Indian, they lived in the estate. They were estate workers and professionals. Due to that, we have different schools, different types of schools that use different languages. So we have Malay schools and we have English schools. In Malay schools, the medium of instruction was Malay, and English schools, the medium of instruction was English. We have Tamil schools, as that Tamil is the medium of instruction, and Chinese schools, where they have Mandarin as the medium of instruction. But nowadays, so this is what we call it quadrilingual situation in 1970s. But nowadays, we don't have Malay schools and English schools anymore. Instead, we have national schools. And Malay is the medium of instruction for national schools. But we still have Tamil school and Chinese schools. They are called vernacular schools. We are diverse. We use different languages, but yet we are united with one language, which is national language. So that is what we are. This is what we call unity in diversity. These are the references, and thank you for watching. Bye.